Have you ever wondered what a real-life pantry audit looks like? Oh, are you in for a treat today? One of our viewers sent in a bunch of pictures on her pantry asking for help, and we're going to dive right in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to SuttonsDaze. If you're new here, my name is Lisa, and we are all about pantry preparedness. And this is going to be so much fun for me, a ridiculous amount of fun for me. But this is exactly what I love to do. Together, we're going to explore what is working, what isn't, some helpful suggestions, and some actions and tasks that she can do to secure her pantry. We're going to cover all of the things. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by your pantry, then this is the episode for you. We're going to tackle affordable fixes, easy solutions, and real life pantries. Let's get started. First, this is how this all started, is that Jennifer ran across this video, how to create a first in, first out pantry system, because she was dealing with everything that you're seeing in the picture. But I told her, I said, send me an email on this. And so she did. And she said, this is regarding your response to my comment on your video from a couple of years ago regarding the first in, first out method. She goes, thank you. I totally understand if you aren't able to respond. I love this kind of stuff. Okay, so she said, I've actually inherited a great deal of this stockpile due to a lot of my family members moving out of state, but the majority was purchased in the last couple of years. My home canned jars are in a different room, but that's been a problem too because they are out of sight, so I forget that they're even there. The stockpile got large though because I'm now the only, quote, mom left here after recent passings of my mother-in-law and sister-in-law / best friend. I feel responsible for taking care of the 9 adults and 1 toddler that are still here, especially if we had an SHTF situation, but also hosting every holiday and occasion, even with chronic pain conditions. I try to write the expiration date on the fronts, and if we had an earthquake, I do live in California, I'd be in big trouble. Any suggestions would be so appreciated. And she gives me permission to use her photos. And so I sent her a response to this saying that I would love to tackle it and if she could send me more photos. So these are all of the different photos that we have, different views per se of Jennifer's pantry. We're going to tackle that first. So we've got the first straight on look, right? And then we're going to go up to that back top shelf. And you'll see the minute rice and some other stuff. And then actually, I think this is near the door when you're facing in the room, that wall, and then this is facing in that room. It's actually, expanded outside of that room. And then this is, again, that same wall from the other shot, only showing more of what's on those racks. We're going to tackle this, Jennifer, not to worry. We've got you, sister. Yes, we do. And we're going to get started right now. First and foremost, I would have to say that if you are not using or seriously planning on using that gym equipment, I would get it up on Marketplace and put it at a price that really guarantees a sale, okay? Because you can use that room for so much other stuff that if you're not using the exercise equipment, would be a good thing to do. Now, number 1, we are going to tackle over on the left. Let me zoom in here. And down on this shelf right here, we're going to address a few different things just with this view, okay? First, I love those totes. You're going to love those totes. I have bought 3 sets of them over the last few months, and I use them for storing all kinds of things, though admittedly, none of it in my pantry. However, after doing a little bit of research, I found out that's not really going to be a huge issue. So we will start here with this view, okay? First, you have, it looks like sliced carrots and possibly some peas, and you've got, different vegetables, cases of them down on the bottom shelves, a case of water. And then if we come up, you've got bags of flour, and you've got pasta rice-a-roni in the boxes. And then it looks like there's some kind of pancake mix on that other shelf. So my first suggestion for this here is that you want to get like with like, okay? So some of this you may have to, you're definitely going to have to move the bikes, but you may have to set up some kind of workspace, like maybe a folding table or something. offload everything that's on those shelves. You want to get all of the canned vegetables in one area. You want to get all of the canned goods in one area. It makes it easier to discern what is where, and be able to find it at a better space, and you'll be able to find it much easier. Number two, though, is that the bags of flour, those need to be taken care of. Okay, you need to get those into airtight containers. Don't really care what it is. I recommend 5-gallon buckets, especially if you're going to be cooking and baking and going through that, because again, flour, best case scenario, California, heat, all that other stuff, those are good for about 2 years max. So you're going to want to go through those. You're going to want to put them into airtight containers. I do recommend 5-gallon buckets. 5-gallon buckets can be located at a number of places. Everyone always says you can go to the bakeries and ask for them for free. I live in an area where that's not even an option. Okay, so if you want to avoid the hassle, because it'll cost you more money to go find out if they're there than it does just to order them, you can get 5-gallon food grade buckets from Lowe's, from Home Depot, from Tractor Supply, from Walmart. If you have an Azure drop near you, you can also get them from Azure Standard. Fantastic things to have. I am a strong believer you can never have enough 5-gallon buckets. You want to use tape or labels of some kind to label the outside of the bucket and mark flour on it, and then put that flour in there. That guarantees, number one, that you're not going to get any kind of pantry moths, and that no mice or anything else kind of find its way into your pantry and go, look at, we got a party going on here. Yes, we do. So get those taken care of. The other thing is those pastaroni things. If you do consume them, then I would recommend taking those and putting them neatly into those totes that you are showing here, because even though those are not food grade, they are still safe for putting boxed goods in. So you can stack those up pretty good, label the outside of the tote, tuck it to the other, to another area until we get to that. But for that first view right there, you want to do that. And you definitely want to get that pancake mix into an airtight container. If you want to save the recipes, on the back of it, or the instructions for how to utilize it, you can definitely do that. Tape it to the outside of the jar, or take a picture of it and print it out, someplace where you've got it handy. But those kinds of things will definitely be an issue for any kinds of hitchhikers, invaders of the pantry, bad guests. We don't want to deal with that. So next, we're going to move up and do the next couple shelves. The next shelf up is, it looks like, from my vantage point, a lot of pasta. So if you don't want to put the pasta into their own airtight containers, okay, take them out of the box, put them into an airtight container, then you can, like I said with the rice-a-roni stuff, is you can put them into one of those totes. Mark on the outside of the tote what you've got in there. Use tape, use a Post-it note that you tape on for security purposes. But you want to get those so that they're in an airtight environment and not susceptible to house guests. Same thing with the tacos. I see you have a taco kit. I'm not sure if there are any more back there, and I see an open box of I don't know what. So you want to get those. You want to get those taken care of and secured from any unwanted guests. Next to that shelf is another, it looks like, taco kit and some protein bars and I don't know, a few other things. So basically anything that is in a box or a bag, you want to find a way to store it securely and airtight. My best suggestion, because these are probably not super long term, is that you use mason jars. You can use these lid lock containers that I highly recommend. I've got quite a few sets of them going on in my own kitchen. Very handy, very airtight, and you can still see what's in there, but you can also label them to tell you just in case, and it makes it look organized, which automatically makes you feel much, much better. So that's those shelves there. Now we're going to hop up more to the next level of shelves, and that again is all canned goods. And it looks like there's a combination of soups, and beans and maybe some fruit from my vantage point. So when you go through to organize all of this, you're going to want to try to get all of the canned goods on like that side of the room, let's just say, okay? Get them organized and situated so that you know they're grouped. So all the beans in one area, then all of the soups in another, you know, next to it, and then all of the fruit in another next to it. And then you can bring up the vegetables from down below and put those up there too. Or you can make one entire shelving unit, nothing but canned goods. That's another way to do it, so that you've just got that shelving unit that you have to peruse instead of, you know, going across the two units. That is totally doable. Looking at those two particular shelves, we may have to readjust as we go around the room. But if you understand what I mean, I'm just suggesting that all of the canned goods be in one area. It will save space, it will make it more organized, and it will allow you more space for your other bigger, bulkier items. So that's why I say you're probably going to need a table or something so that you can offload these. And then for the stuff that you do put into those totes or into 5-gallon buckets, you can take those totes and buckets and stack them up out of the way until it's time to move them back in. Now, if we look at the very, very top, there's more canned goods. And it looks like breakfast cereal, I think. Breakfast cereal, possibly. So breakfast cereal, I would recant that absolutely into airtight containers. Breakfast cereal does go bad over time. When Phil and I first got together, I was cleaning out the kitchen cupboards and I ran across an unopened box of Cheerios, and it never occurred to me that anybody would have Cheerios sitting around for an extensively long period of time. And so I'm like, oh man, Cheerios sound really good with some strawberries. And so we ran up and we got some strawberries and I cut them up and we added them to the bowl with the Cheerios and we poured milk over it. And oh my gosh, come to find out those Cheerios were about 9 years old. Can I tell you how bad they tasted? I'm total waste of strawberries. So you want to make sure to get them into an airtight container, because that really isn't as airtight as we like to think it is. The boxes, and then make sure to throw a date on them. And when you're going through the cans to reorganize them, get out your Sharpie and mark the best use by date on there, because you're going to want to know that too when you put them back up, because you want the date that is closest to the day that you are doing this up front, and then you want them to go numerically forward when you go back, when you're stacking them. That's very important. You always want to make sure to use the oldest food in the pantry first, so that you're not wasting food that way. And again, there's more canned goods, so you can work on making those, incorporating those with the rest of the canned goods. That's that one area right there that I am super excited about. You have a great stash going on here. So now we're going to kind of take a peek back behind exercise bike number 1, where it looks like you have a bunch of paper goods, not only paper towels, but napkins and toilet paper. And they're kind of in there a little haphazardly, you know. So I would definitely pull those out for a hot minute and then start digging through what's underneath it. I'm not sure what is in the laundry basket, but you know, that can be addressed as you move forward. But we can see kind of, sort of, what is in the totes. And in there, you've got the boxes of mac and cheese, and you've got the beans. Now, beans I have found to be much easier to deal with when they are repackaged into Mylar bags. You can put them into quart or half-gallon, however you want to do it, and then take those bags. And again, those can go back into the totes, or they can go into 5-gallon buckets. Personally, I would save the totes for the boxes because, you know, they're squared off. It just makes more sense. But with a few 5-gallon buckets and some Mylar, you are golden, and you can put what looks like rice into the Mylar also. Both the beans and the rice are long-term storage. So all you need to do is get those into some Mylar with some oxygen absorbers for an extra layer of protection. Get them sealed up and then put them away, and remember that they're there, and pull them out and start rotating through them. Definitely don't buy any new ones. But the boxes of macaroni and cheese and like the pasta roni, those are not long-term storage. Those will degrade after a certain amount of time. So you want to take a look at how to incorporate those moving forward into your menu or your party plans. It also looks like this might be rice over here on this side too. So again, you want to get that into 5-gallon buckets and Mylar bags at the very least. It helps secure them. It helps keep them fresher. It helps keep, light and moisture and everything else out. And now we've got some shelf-stable milk, and it looks like some coffee back there, and I'm not sure what else. But take a look at the milk. Start using it so that, number one, you're accustomed to how it is and, how you like it utilized. But then also the coffee, you want to make sure that you're rotating through the coffee. So if you want, it would be, in my opinion, a really good idea to create areas within your pantry where like all the canned goods are on one end and all of the box stuff is on another end and all of the beverages are on another end, and you've got the space in here to do it, believe it or not, you do. So if you were to take the boxed stuff, like we talked about, the boxed rice-a-roni or the macaroni and cheese, and instead of having your toilet paper stacked in that area, stack up those totes so that you can tell what is in there. And remember to put the heaviest ones on the bottom. Then one, it'll be much more organized, much easier to assess what you have in there, and much easier to get to. So that would be an important factor for me. And the paper products can be moved. They absolutely can. Now, if we go up a couple more shelves, again, it looks like we've got more canned goods, and you have some of my favorite rotation racks on there. So those are helpful, and they do help the space a little bit, So again, those canned goods can be incorporated in with the other canned goods. And then these boxed things can either be recanted or put into totes that make sense, like, cake mixes in one and, sugar substitutes in another, that kind of thing, baked goods. I see you've got the halo top and stuff up there. So you're going to want to create different totes for different things. Like, one is all baked goods, like muffins and brownies and that kind of thing, and cake mixes. And then one can be, for all the stuff that you use to go with them, like the frostings and that kind of stuff. Whatever makes the most sense to you is how you should organize it within the totes. But then by, again, having it in the totes, you can tell what is working and what isn't, and you can tell what you're going through, and you can put the dates as you go along. It would make it much easier. So we're just going to scoot right over again to the top over here. And I think that is some instant coffee, maybe. I think so. Instant coffee is phenomenal and literally lasts forever. So you're good right the way that is. The minute rice and whatever these bags are should be recanted into jars or Mylar and then stored appropriately according to, whatever use you're going to do for those. Behind those, I see are some Augustin Farms. More canned goods, more canned and jarred goods. So as you're going through with your canned goods, if you were to separate the quadrants in the canned good area as this is fruit and this is proteins and this is vegetables and these are ready to eat meals and these are pasta sauces, then again, that makes it just that much easier. But you need to get some dates on these so that you know which ones you have to use first. And especially because they came from potentially a few different places, that'll be important. Now, when you're creating the area for the drinks, that is where the protein drinks should go. And if you don't drink the protein drinks today, I highly recommend donating them to like the local senior center or something, because they can always use them. But if it is something that you use, then by all means, stack those up according to date. They don't last forever, so you want to make sure to do that, and put them in your beverage section. Now, you've got water under here, which is excellent. Very, very good. That's exactly where it should be. I might put something between the bottles and the floor so that if anything becomes compromised, it doesn't make a complete mess of the carpeting. But then back on that other shelf, I saw a case of water. So you're going to want to get that over with this water. So this whole unit could actually be, you know, your beverage unit, because I see you've got water along the side too. So if you were to stack your gallon jugs and your cases of bottles and your coffees and your teas and your protein drinks and your shelf-stable milk all in this area here, it would make it much easier to locate, especially if you're looking at an emergency kind of situation, and it would make it safer. The water will be on the bottom because it's the heaviest. You never want to store that above anything, but I would put something underneath there, just because it's not always good to have it right on the ground, and definitely make it so that you can get in there. I see you've got some open cases of the protein drinks. And so those obstruct your view and you won't be able to see an issue when it happens potentially. So you want to make sure that you get those set up in a pretty easy manner. And that would take care of that shelf right there. We're going to hop back over to this view. It's a little bit clearer on this picture, but I didn't see the Cheerios before on the other one. So you want to get the breakfast cereal over with the breakfast cereal, right? And I love that you have all the proteins together on one shelf. Makes the most sense. And then, you know, you do want to address the bags of stuff that are up there. The coffee creamer has a pretty long shelf life. So, you know, that's something that you want to take a look at, mark on the outside of the container. And then it looks like you have vegetable shortening and peanut butter powder over there. So you might want to relocate those. The peanut butter powder could actually go somewhere where the proteins are, and the shortening should be kept together with like-minded items. So that'll take a little bit of rearranging. You know, the Augustin Farms up on the top shelf, great use. Definitely pick one part of your pantry for all of that kind of stuff. Now this view right here is the left-hand side from the original picture and behind, you know, looking out the door. And so, yeah, you have so much shelving here that is being underutilized. So this is a great time to address this. We've already addressed the pasta in the boxes. The dog food is fine the way it is. There's no need to recant that. It looks like possibly butane canisters on the bottom shelf. And then on the shelf above that, and I'm not sure, oh, lamp oil, okay. Lamp oil there, and it looks like dishwasher detergent and, you know, miscellaneous boxes. So you're going to want to go through that and organize that. And that shelf could definitely be used for those kinds of things that are not edible, you know, your pantry accessory kind of stuff. But we're going to address that on another section too. So that area is kind of a question mark for me right now, but definitely keep those together and figure out what's in those boxes and address those. But when we go up, it's a mishmash, right? It's a shop and drop kind of situation. It almost looks like. So you have your macaroni and cheese, which should be with the other macaroni and cheese. You have deodorant and aspirin and cough syrup. You know, those are all their own area or should be their own area. So you want to gather anything like that in the pantry up, and you want to put it together on a shelf or in one of those small totes is a beautiful thing to do with it. You have canned fruit and peanut butter over here. So you want to incorporate those in with the other ones. And again, check the dates and make sure that, you know, you're moving everything out in the proper way. Wonderlawn is not something I would necessarily keep in the pantry. So you're going to want to take a look at possibly someplace else to put that. And so that it's not in with the food, right? On the top shelf, it looks like empty pill bottles and different miscellaneous stuff, home videos and stuff. So I might find another home for those videos. The tent is a great thing to keep in there. Or no, that's a solar generator, is a great thing to keep in there. So that top shelf would be a great place for a lot of those accessory items, you know, as long as you can see them. As far as the adult pads go, definitely keep those, okay? Because I know I've still got a stash from when my mom was with us, and because you just never know. you never know what life is going to throw your way, right? So definitely keep those. I would definitely put those into a tote that, you know, you can then easily find them, and they're not stuck in between shelves that way. Just makes it a little bit easier to see what you've got going on. Top shelf, we have some Ritz crackers, it looks like. So those need to be over with the food. And I would put those into one of the totes if you're not going to go through them relatively quickly, or just because it's safer, you know, than having guests come and spend time in your pantry. Empty jars, rings, you know, that kind of fun stuff. I would utilize one of the shelving units that you have out in the hallway. So we'll come back to that. But anything that is like the buckets, the galvanized buckets and the lawn care stuff should be someplace outside of the pantry. And then the canning stuff I would take outside of the pantry just because I know you have the room. That's literally the only reason I'm suggesting that. And it appears like it might be dish soap and alcohol, rubbing alcohol on the bottom shelf. That's what I can spot anyway. And so those would go in with your cleaning products and your medicine cabinet, you know, where the aspirin and that kind of stuff is. So you want to, again, create quadrants within this. So even that one shelf by the door, if you were to pull everything off of there, okay, and you were to make the bottom shelf the area that you put a tote with the adult diapers on it, okay? And then the next shelf up, you have a tote where you put the first aid kit. Turn it into a first aid kit. A tote as a first aid kit is a beautiful thing. So you can put in your aspirin, your cough syrup, you know, that kind of stuff in there, the rubbing alcohol. And then the one above that, you can turn into the cleaning one where you have your dish soap, your laundry detergent, you know, that fun kind of stuff. That top shelf is up for grabs. I would possibly put, I would grab another one of those totes, or a tote of some kind of container to put the butane cans in. And if you were going to keep them in the pantry, I'd put them on the top shelf, just so that you have your eye on them, so that they're more visible, you know? So just that one shelf alone, you can create 1, 2, 3, 4 to 5 different quadrants using totes or other means to organize the stuff that you've got scattered on 2 shelves plus. And then the canning stuff I would put out in the hallway because you're going to bring some of that stuff in. Focus first on having food in your pantry, right? And then if there's room left over from that, then you can work towards the other stuff. So this view is directly across from what we were just looking at. And my initial thoughts are that this is an accessory area. So you could run with this a couple different ways. I don't know what the rest of the house is, right? But that little white particle board shelf can actually be replaced with those small totes by putting the alcohol and the first aid kit and, you know, that kind of stuff in those totes. Cleaning products can go over on the shelf that has all the cleaning products, and hygiene can go on the hygiene shelf, you know. And then all of those things like the plastic wrap or the Ziploc bags, those can all stay together. If they're not being used, if this is surplus, then you can just, you know, find one spot in the pantry to stack them all to keep track of what you've got. If these are the ones that are actually in use, then that's another thing. You want to make them easily accessible. And that might be a top shelf item for that other shelf by the door that I was talking about. But everything else in here looks like it can be incorporated into first aid, hygiene, and cleaning supplies. Definitely. Maybe tuck that wine rack right up against the door. Your bag of bags can be hung someplace. You've got freezer bags over there, and I'm not sure what that 360 thing is, but and I'm not sure what's in the filing cabinet. And I'm very visual. I'll be the first one to admit this. I'm very visual. And so having something hidden in a filing cabinet just means I'm not going to see it. But Maybe if you were to put your bag of bags in the filing cabinet, you know, you don't need to see those to know that you have them most of the time. Or you could utilize it. I don't know what you're utilizing it for, but if it's just because that's the only place that you had for it, then that works too. And if we bump a little bit more to the left, we'll see your bulk spices, baking soda, coconut oil. So again, you want to get the oils all in one place, the fats and oils all in one place. You want to get your spices and baking goods all in one place, you know, and whatever else you've got. Yeah, it looks like more baking goods on the second shelf of that. That you want to try to put all those together. And then I see the mustard and the ketchup. You want to try to put all of your condiments in one area also. So those don't have to be toted up, you know, but you just organized on a shelf so that all of the condiments are in one area, all of the spices in another, all of the baking goods in another. And I only recommended the baking goods because so many of those were boxed items that it would be safer as far as pests go to keep them in a tote that you can manage as opposed to just having them out where they invite company, because nobody wants that kind of company, right? Now, as we step all the way out, I see these two shelving units. And if it were me, and you know, it's not, so take it for what it is. If it were me, I would, once you organize these shelves with all of the canned goods in them, I would relocate these canned goods and incorporate them with those. So you've got the soups in one area, the vegetables in another, the fruits in another, so on and so forth, right? And then the condiments all on the top shelf. That looks amazing. But I would incorporate it with the shelf for the condiments that are in the other room. If you do that, you have freed up that whole shelf. And that shelf is spot on perfect for storing your empty canning jars and canning accessories so that, poof, they're easy, they're there, easy to grab. And if there's room left over, it's also a great spot to put the things like the saran wrap or the foil or the Ziploc baggies that you're using and are open right there so that they're easy to access from your kitchen. Now, on the shelf across from it, I see, is that a bag of marshmallows, Jennifer? I see marshmallows and oatmeal and that kind of stuff. So again, those need to be packaged in such a way that nothing can get to them. So I would use those, you know, lid lock containers like I'm showing here, or I would use, you know, half-gallon mason jars. Those little packets fit well in there, and get those boxed up, toted up, and whatever, so that, again, nothing can get in there. So that whole shelf could be emptied out just by doing that, which may allow you to bring some more stuff from in the pantry out of the pantry. If you were so inclined, or it may just clear up a corner, because can you ever have enough corners? No, you cannot. And so this is another view that we're looking at of that wall that had the wine rack on it. And so I see dried beans and peas. I would definitely make sure you're getting all your dried goods together. Crackers are not super long term, so having them on something like this is great, but it's better if you can put them in something that cannot be accessed by rodents or pests. Definitely helps with the crackers. Those potatoes, as long as they're just plain potatoes, I see ones with butter, it says on it, but if they're just plain potatoes, those are long-term storage all the way, good for years and years. And so I would put those into Mylar and package them up, or just put them into something that is, you know, you could take those packages, because those packages are perfectly fine, and put those into a 5-gallon bucket and put a lid on it. Nothing will mess with them. You do want to use the ones with the flavoring sooner than later, because they do not have as long a shelf life. Is that more instant coffee? It is. Okay, so you got to get that coffee over with the other coffee, and it almost looks, yeah, that you've got the box goods on the bottom, more pasta kind of stuff, more oatmeal. So the first thing when you're organizing this is to make sure that you're putting like with like, you know, that will save you a ton of time, and it will keep you from wasting a ton of food, because you'll have it all together. You'll know that it's there. Any open bags or any bags that have stuff in it, like the granulated sugar, definitely should be recanted as soon as possible. Any of the boxes with, you know, any of the pastas or the rice dishes, that kind of thing, should be stored in a sealed container so that nobody can get to them. So that's where those totes will come in handy. And you could technically, I'm thinking, if you were to pull out that white shelf that has the coconut oil jar on it and move the filing cabinets to the left and get rid of the particle board shelf over by the wine rack, that would potentially almost clear up enough space to put that shelf out in the hallway in here, which might serve you better than these two. It might, you never know. Put the wine rack outside in the hallway. There you go. That might be the way to go, right? And so those are my thoughts with regards to this amazing pantry and this amazing woman who is so kind as to show us what she's having to deal with. Definitely making quadrants out of the pantry helps a lot. It helps a lot. And don't forget to go vertical because you can get a lot done with vertical. And I think I missed a photo here, so I'm going to try to get that open for you right now. No, where is it? Okay, here it is. So it looks like a cabinet where she has her home canned stuff. And right off the bat, I'll tell you to get those rings off those jars, Jennifer. That's not a good way to store it because you won't know if they come undone. Okay, so get those off the jars. And you've done good with stacking them so that they're not on top of each other. But that is enough in that cabinet. Oh, and more canning goods and more butane. So, and a game. So you could easily incorporate these into the other room once you get that organized. You know, if you keep in mind what you've got here, then you can put your home canned stuff near or on a shelf that you've cleared in the pantry with little or no problem. I really do believe that you can pull that off. I think you've got more than enough room. And the vertical space, like you've utilized here, only in a more efficient manner by using the totes or by, you know, putting those things that you don't access frequently is a great thing to be able to do. That vertical space, especially when it's way on top, should be stuff that you're not getting into all the time. So I have a list of the things that I've suggested for you to get to help put this all together. That will be down in the description box down below. So if anybody's watching this on TV, you just have to get onto your phone, tablet, computer, and go to the description box underneath the video, and that will have the corresponding links. Those totes are phenomenal totes. I have used them to sort all of my knitting. I have used them to sort some craft projects that I have going on. And, oh, I can't remember what else. There was something else. But yeah, I use them all the time in our house. So I'm actually contemplating getting a whole nother set of them because they work really good. And because the only thing I'm suggesting putting in there is things that are like dried pasta or beans that are bagged up in Mylar, or, you know, rice that is bagged up in Mylar. You do want to get those out of the bags that they're in because those are not long-term compatible. They will start to degrade, and you don't want that degrading on your food. So recanting the rice and the beans and, you know, that kind of stuff and putting them in those totes is perfectly safe and gives you a way to be organized but still see where it's at. So just remember to put the heavier stuff on the bottom, put the stuff you don't access very often up top, and you've got this. You're not going to do this overnight, I guarantee it, but you can do this. This is doable, and it will feel like you're deconstructing the entire world, but by the time you get it put back together and you have those quadrants in your pantry, you know, you've got the meat, the protein, the canned beans all in one area. You've got all of the dried pasta and the dried beans and the dried rice in another area stored properly. And you've got the sugar and the flour put away properly so that nothing gets on them, and recanting the cereal so that it stays fresher longer. And when you get the dates on all those cans, you know, even with any health issues that you may, you know, be dealing with, you've got chronic pain, and I get it. So this is actually a really good project for you, because you can do a little bit at a time and make huge progress. It doesn't all have to be done in a day. And I really want to emphasize that it does not have to be done in a day. But if you can persuade any of those 9 adults to come and give you a hand, then all the better, because then you can make it all, work for everyone. And you've got this. So I'm going to do a couple of things. One is the links down in the description box, and 2 is a printable sheet so that you can create an inventory. And if I were you with the inventory, as you're doing this, I would not only put, I would have one sheet for each quadrant. That's what, one sheet for each quadrant. So one sheet for your proteins, one sheet for your fruit, another for your vegetables, so on and so forth for your dried goods. And you could even tape those pantry sheets onto the totes for the stuff that you put into the totes. If this pantry project sparked any thoughts for you, let me know in the comment section down below. And if you have any suggestions for different ways that may help Jennifer in organizing her pantry, dealing with chronic pain, and being the matriarch of the family that is still in the area, then definitely throw those down below too. We are stronger as a community, and you are all amazing. And if you would like your pantry featured in a future video, definitely send me an email, attach a bunch of pictures, okay? And let me know that it's okay to use them in the video, and I will happily do a pantry review for you and hopefully come up with some great suggestions on how to make your pantry more functional. Remember, my friends, be safe. And like Jennifer, keep stacking it to the rafters, my friends.